the way I want you to look at these indicators are like this. I'll actually draw it right on here. Okay, picture this: a floor and ceiling. Okay, so like if you have a house, picture this like a house. Okay, and what I mean by floor and ceiling is when you're closer to the floor, it's actually got more potential to go up from there before it hits the ceiling. And when you hit the ceiling, it's hard to go higher, right? It's easier to go down. Doesn't mean it always will, but look at the major moves here. Every time we had a major move, right, you can see the big moves up and down. It pretty much goes floor to ceiling, ceiling to floor. Now I'm ignoring these little halfway moves. Ed, maybe we can mute your. So basically, I ignore the small moves, and what I do is I'm looking at the big moves. So if we're down here, you guys tell me, if we're down here and we're in oversold territory, right? Where is the next big move going to happen? Remember, I'm ignoring these halfway moves that are just part of the way down or up, right? We're only referring to the next big move only. Is the next big move going to be down or is it going to be up? Right? So where are we right now? We're closer to the top, but we're not quite in overbought territory. If we were up here in the white zone, I would be more, see, like we were here touching the ceiling of the house. It's harder to go higher than the roof. So what we would say is it's going to go back down more likely than not. And that's only like 75% of the time. It's not guaranteed. You could have some of these. It can either stay up there for a while or it can basically go down only a little bit. But most of the time, if it's up here, it's got a bigger chance to fall from there. So we're not quite seeing that this, and this is a chart for oil. So we're seeing that it is bearish, but it's not as bearish as if this was the indicator up here. So if someone was asking me, Robert, what do you think about this chart for these candles? By the way, all of these indicators are for whatever the candles are being represented by, which is oil prices. Okay, whatever is mentioned up here. And we got 1 month candles because it's a capital M. Okay, so basically, whatever the candles are, that's what's being reflected on all the indicators, not gold or silver. Okay, just what the candles are representing. So here, if someone asks me, Robert, what do you think the candles will do? I would say it would go up a little bit potentially because I look at the current trajectory. When I say trajectory, I mean the angle of the line right now. Is it pointing upward or is it pointing downward? So if the angle right now is trajecting higher, okay, it might top out right now and start heading down. Then I would become a swing trader and say, oh, it's going to fall for a while. Okay. However, even if it falls right now, I'm not as bearish, right? Saying it turns right now and it goes down, I'm not as bearish as if it goes higher first and then falls, because then it has more room to fall if it's right along the ceiling. And when it has more room to fall, it can fall harder and faster and for a longer period of time to catch more traders into that movement. Okay, so then I would be even more bearish. So this is what I've taught you guys so far, is just basic. One thing, this is called the stochastics indicator. It's the settings are 1433 for the sophisticated traders. That's just the default setting on TradingView. If you're anyone out there using MetaTrader 4, the default setting for stochastics is 533. It looks different. If you adjust the numbers, you can change them to 1433 to see what everyone on TradingView is looking at. Or use both if you like. Even just using 2 stochastic settings can give you a hint. Okay, so let me do that right now. Let me show you how I would do that. You go to indicators at the top, right? And let's type in built-ins. Let's go stochastics, just the basic one. I'm on 10. I already have 10. Hold on. Let's turn off this one here. Okay, so what I'm doing is just adding in stochastics, and you can see here I've got two stochastics. Both of them are settings at 433, 1433, and I'm going to change one of them to inputs, and I'm going to type in 533. If you don't know what MetaTrader 4 is, don't worry about this, but this is just a platform you can use on your cell phone to trade. A lot of people use it. And you can see on MetaTrader 4, the default setting for your stochastics indicator is 533, which a lot of people look at. It's not exactly the same. Okay, it's similar. My point is, being today, if we're looking at silver to gold, you know, we're doing a lot of lessons here just on one chart, but you could easily do this on a stock chart. You could easily do this on a Forex chart, comparing three different similar currencies to each other, three similar stocks to each other, right? And you can actually look at the indicators, and you can actually look at the same indicator with different settings. So you got 1433 and 533, which is the default setting, what most people look at. And you can see one of them may be, now we look at, it's actually entering overbought territory more on this number setting. So it gives us a better hint when both of them line up. You see, for example, here, you can see that both of these were in oversold territory, and then they moved higher. That's great. That's what you're looking for. Okay. But sometimes they're not. So let's find a place where they were not at the same setting. So here you can see it's halfway, and here it's at the bottom. So if I had to say that this is going to go up, I wouldn't be so sure about that, because this one is more 50-50. Here, when it was down there, that's when this one was down even lower, is when I would have said, okay, I'm ready for this to go back up at the same time. And even here, it went up for a while. As soon as I saw it go back up to here and turn, and this one was still down here, I would no longer be bullish. I would get out until this fell back down to here again, and it was still down here again, and both of them had a lot of room to go back up again. So even using the same indicator can give you a hint with different number settings for how to find the best opportunities. Okay, so what else can you do? If I'm comparing two different settings for the same indicator, think of it as two different time frames. What is another hint you can tell me to look at if I'm comparing different products? Gold and silver, I'm looking at different indicators, and I'm looking at even the same indicator with different numbers. What's another thing that we can look at? Now, the hint is we're looking at an oil chart and with monthly candles. So once I've decided what the price of oil might do based on technical analysis, I can actually confirm my decision. Okay, so don't worry about it right now what this chart is saying, if it's going to go up or down. In fact, let's use a different chart. Let's use a stock. Who has a stock that we want to use to learn on the next part of the lesson? Okay. Yeah, we can do Tesla. Sure. Okay, fine. Who can type in the chat, whether you're doing online or on this presentation? I can see all the chats. Where do you think the stochastics will go next, up or down? It's based on what we showed earlier. Stochastics over here. So who thinks it's going to go higher? Who thinks it's going to go lower? Remember, we're looking for the next big move up or the next big move down. That's all I care about. I don't care about these halfway moves or indecisive middle lines. What do we see next? Down, down, down. Everyone is on the same page as me. And guys, I didn't tell you, you taught me. So congratulations, you're picking up this information, and don't be overwhelmed if it's too much. There's a lot of different technical analysis that there is to learn. We're pretty much running out of time here, but yes, I'm glad you're grasping something. I'm glad you're getting value. We can see this line has a lot more room to go down. I even got the 1433 setting and the 533 setting for the stochastics. Both agree that they're way overbought above the purple zone, and they can both go down at the same time. This MACD, the way I'm looking at that, is actually bullish. That is a fresh cross where the blue line crossed over the red line to the upside. So it's trajecting, pointing higher is what I look at. I also look for a fresh cross where the blue line just crossed over the red line. And I look at the steepness of that trajectory. So that is a little bit bullish for Tesla. However, this stochastics tells me that this could easily change direction like that when this goes down and this goes down. So that's a caution. This tells me I would not be buying. I would move on at this moment, despite remaining intact with this support. I believe we're going to retest it. Another reason I say that is I've got another indicator up here. Who can tell me which one I'm looking at? And here's a hint. It's within the actual where the price is at right now. Do you see this blue shaded zone? And you can see that that zone sometimes narrows and sometimes widens. Okay, so what we're looking at is the lower Bollinger Band and the upper Bollinger Band. Let's change colors here. I'm going to make it black. So this lower Bollinger Band and this upper Bollinger Band, and then you've got the middle line, which is just the moving average showing us the middle of those. Okay, basically what we got here, it shows us that it likes to stay in that range. Just like we had the house with the floor and ceiling. Okay, and what we have here is the exact same thing. The only difference is this time, instead of being stable where the ceiling and the floor are in the same place all the time, we now have the floor and ceiling can move. Okay, so what we have is we're above the upper Bollinger Band right now. So who would guess is the next move based on the Bollinger Band itself? Are we closer to the top or closer to the bottom? And is the next big move from the bottom to the top like it was here? Or is the next big move from the top to the bottom like it was here? Type it in the comments. I see people typing down. So I agree. We have to go down just to get to the upper Bollinger Band. So what I want you to take away is how often did that happen? Once, twice, 3 times, maybe 4 times. It's very rare occurrence. So what happened each time when the price moved outside above the Bollinger Band, like here? What happened to the price? Did it go up or down? Okay. So this has a big chance to drop just to get to the upper Bollinger Band where it should be respecting to stay within at least the floor to ceiling. Okay. So this tells me it's a little bit overhyped stock. And this stochastics tells me that anyone that's buying right now doesn't know technical analysis, or at least the stochastics indicator, which is pointing significantly overbought right now, which is dangerous to be buying. And hopefully now you can see that if you're going to ignore the stochastics being up here, it's the same thing as putting on your blindfold and entering your vehicle and going in the fast lane on the highway. It could go higher. It could respect this upward trending channel, but it's risky. So it's not worth, I believe, at this point. I would be rather buying when it's here, closer to the bottom Bollinger Band. And yes, that tells me it's going to be below $1,000 again soon, this stock. That's Tesla. That's stochastics, a little bit of MACD. We can also draw a couple other indicators and patterns, but we kind of ran out of time today. And you can see when you draw these lines, it gives you a good hint at where prices could go next. And even here, we see a divergence. That's another thing. Maybe we can talk another time when we have time to present again. Then you can see that this can easily go back down to here. All that tells me is where the price should have been yesterday. And there's a big chance that it will go like that. So how do you add the numbers to next to stochastic? So it's 1433. Very simple. You just got to go back and go into your settings. So once you've opened up the indicator, how I did that again is I go up here at indicators, and you can just type in stochastic, right? And you type in, you click on stochastic, and it'll open the indicator, or you just go to built-ins and scroll down to S, and you've got stochastic. Then what you do, once you've got the indicator open, on the left side here, you've got an eyeball. That can actually hide it or show it. You also have an X if you want to straight up just delete it and remove that indicator. You also have settings. It's a little gear here. So I want you to press that gear. And what you see usually is the style. So you can change the colors if it's, what colors you prefer. I recommend never changing the default settings for any indicator. Why? Because it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. When more people see it, then more people throw money at it. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy that it'll actually happen over and over. Like, people are patterns and markets are patterns. So if you play with the settings too much, it'll be less people seeing that what you're seeing. So I like to keep knowing what the sentiment of the market is based on what they're seeing in the technical analysis, so I can anticipate what others will do. So here I clicked on inputs, and you can see 533, and you can just click the arrows to change the numbers, and then you got 1433, or you can just type it in. Okay, so that's how I made it the same. And finally, I'll leave you guys with this. When you've got this done, where I'm bearish on the daily candles, so each candles, we've got a whole separate lesson one day we'll do just on candles. Someone can help us if they want to step up, they can help us present that. But I also can teach the candles. What we can do is we'll switch it to a 4-hour, right? So remember this. Remember when we did this? This could be one indicator on different time frames. The same floor and ceiling for the same stochastic even, but looking at monthly candles, daily candles, hourly candles, even 10-minute candles, even 1-minute candles, when you see all of them lining up at the same time on the same indicator, could be actually a good time to buy. So what I've done here is I switched it from daily candles. You guys tell me, what do you see for stochastics? This with the purple shaded area here. Is it the next big move going to go all the way down or all the way up? Eventually. Even if it stays up there for a while, eventually it has to make a big move. Will it be downward or upward? So if the next big move is downward, and this is on the daily candles, congratulations. Then what I do is I go here and I click 4-hour candles, and I'm going to see the stochastic exchange. I want to see, is it also overbought or oversold now on the 4-hour candles, which could be a totally different story. In this case, is it overbought or oversold? If it's up here, that means it's gone up too much, it's overbought. Okay, meaning it's bearish and it's going to have the next big move to the downside. So on the daily candles and on the 4-hour candles, it's extremely overbought and still outside the upper Bollinger Band. So let's switch it from 4-hour candles to 1-hour candles. Let's see what the stochastic says now. Still overbought. And even the MACD now looks like it's topping out and ready to go back down. Okay. So daily, 4-hour, and hourly candles all show that this is overbought on the stochastic. Now, you guys don't have to have all of them always agree, right? I'm saying if you wait to have 20 different indicators on 20 different time frames all saying the same direction, you're never going to buy or sell anything. You might place one trade a year. Even if you double your money, you're only making 100% a year. But if you look at, I've got 15 out of 20 indicators saying the same direction, you're going to be able to place trades every week. And that's 50 times a year, you could almost double your money. So you don't want to overanalyze to have analysis paralysis.